Welcome back to the show, everyone. Of course, one of the great pleasures of our job is getting to read some incredible books, and a lovely voice out of Vancouver has written her first novel, and it's
absolutely
beautiful.
It is great. And Gurjinder Basran is joining us now to tell us about Everything Was Goodbye. How are you?
Hi, Gurjinder. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no worries. We're looking
So
forward
tell
to
us
it.
a little bit about the story, a little bit autobiographical, I guess, at the beginning.
Yeah, a little bit. Mina is the youngest of 6 daughters. Being raised in Lower Mainland, so just like I was, facing the same kind of struggles culturally, trying to fit in at school, and then coming home and living a very different life. So that feels very similar to my own upbringing.
Yeah. Was there any hesitation at any point? I mean, when you do, there are only elements of you in this book, but I mean, when you are referencing part of your own history, it must be that moment where you're like, okay, am I going to do this? You know,
Yeah.
am I really?
Yeah. Everybody wants to know. Everybody wants to know who's Liam.
Yeah.
Liam being the love interest.
Being the love interest, who's Liam, and did that really happen?
Yeah.
And were you really like that? So
Was it tough to write about it with your family, you know, knowing that they would read it and perhaps see a lot of themselves perhaps reflected in some of the characters?
Yeah, and I think that's the same no matter what you write. So I wrote, you know, using my own life to inform the fiction. But even if I had written something completely fictional, I'm sure that all of my family would have seen themselves in the characters. I think that's just human nature.
Yeah.
You look for yourself in something.
And of course, your family being from India, you have the duality of moving here and the culture and the religion, but it's interesting that so many different cultures and different religions can relate to what Mina was going through, trying to fit in as a first-generation Canadian.
Yeah, I mean, I think every immigrant story is like that. You know, the parents come, they work really hard, and they come here so you have a better life, but at the same time, they just want to hold on to everything that they had there. And that it doesn't work that way. You know, in order to come here, you do have to give up some of your cultural identity and absorb some of the new cultural identity.
Yeah, there's no easy choices in this book for any of the characters, which I find fascinating because you have 3 sort of main guys, Liam, Cal, and Sonny, and they all come with their own set of circumstances that in some aspects would help Mina and in other aspects wouldn't. And that's a really interesting approach, I think, to not have that out. At any point for the character.
Yeah, everybody's really stuck. You know, everybody has something they want to do and a way they want to be, but nobody can actually do that without upsetting someone else. So there's this, the confines of living within certain cultural expectations and societal expectations, but yet at the same time wanting to live very differently. So everyone is somewhat paralyzed.
Yeah.
And so many girls the age of Mina go through that struggle too to fit in. Whether it's religious or cultural, just fitting in with what you wear and what you do.
Oh, totally.
Was it like that for you when you were younger too?
Yeah, you know, I was very much the girl that wanted to be the new wave girl. You know, it wasn't the new
Your
wave girl.
Your soundtrack in this, by the way. We were talking about you putting in a companion CD because it's like perfect.
I mean, that was me. I was always dressed in black, you know, long black hair.
I still am usually.
Yeah, me too. I wore a little green just to break it up today.
But so many people can relate to being the kid who wants to fit in and wants to be something or somebody.
It's like you want to fit in, but not.
Yeah.
You want to fit in, but
be
also
yourself.
be a little bit different, you know, because nobody wants to be generic.
This is a really different novel as well. I was telling you before, you know, anyone that reads a lot, you know, they'll be familiar with a lot of Indian writers, but I don't think I've ever read a story, first of all, set in a place that I'm so familiar with, but also a story that I can recognize from all the people that I grew up with and friendships that I have today of this duality as well. Did part of you write it because you weren't seeing any of this out there, or you didn't hear that story?
Partly, and I partly wrote it by accident. I was just writing about my own life with my sisters. We were journaling together. And I found myself writing more and more and enjoying it. And then, yeah, I started to write the book that I wish somebody else had written.
Yeah.
I wish someone had written something like that for me when I was growing up to make it a little less painful. So partly that. But I think a lot of people don't write about it because it's not very exotic. You know, it's much more exotic to write about India or
than Delta.
Exactly, than Delta, British Columbia.
But it is, I mean, you know, because I think everyone, especially in Vancouver or in Canada, you know, we are such a multicultural society. you can not only identify with these characters, but you know, I know, having read this, that I had friends that were going through some of these struggles, but it was never talked about, you know, between us as friends, or you know, they never brought these subjects up: arranged marriages, cultural heritage, you know, the confines of your culture.
Yeah, I think you don't have a language for it when you're, you know, 16, 17. I was talking to a girlfriend that I went to high school with, and we were very much now, you know, talking about things that maybe we experienced as teenagers, and we were best friends, yet we actually never talked about anything.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
All we talked about was, you know, Depeche Mode, or,
yeah.
you know, those boots are awesome.
And now that you're a parent and you hear your kids talk too, you do the same thing. You're like, you guys aren't really talking about anything.
Exactly. All they talk about is their Lego.
What has been the reaction of people that you don't know from the book? What kind of things have people been saying?
Mostly it's good. Generally, people have enjoyed the writing. They like it. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek. I also sometimes get some concerned looks. You know, people look at me like they're very concerned for me that I've had.
Were you
life.
A depressed child?
Yeah. Right. So, you know, are you okay? Are you okay? And I have to assure them that it's fiction. It's fine.
What about from the South Asian or North Asian community? I mean, has there been reaction for that? Because this is very much a story of people wanting to preserve their culture as well, and, and that being important, especially to, you know, older generations.
Yeah, the feedback has been great from the South Asian community. I mean, and I'm really pleased about that, because there are parts that are shocking a little bit, and sometimes the community isn't painted in the best light. I'm really glad that everybody's been so open to the dialogue, and that has created a lot of dialogue.
Well, and that is, you know, that idea of multiculturalism, that idea of a shared community, that conversation is a really big part of it, isn't it? I mean, to really understand what people sort of are going through in their lives.
Yeah, and that's the best thing about reading a book. You know, you get to experience that life without actually having to go through all of that.
From the outside in. But it is a great read. Thanks so much for joining us today. And if you'd like to meet Gurjinder, she's going to be presenting a reading and book talk at the George Mackey Library in Delta, where, of course, the book is set. And that's going to be on February 8th. You can go to the website to find out all the information. Thanks again.
Thanks. Gurjinder. Appreciate it. We're going to take